Let's go straight over to France to speak to the greatest living Englishwoman, Loose Women star Carol McGiffin. Hello, Carol.
Good evening, Kevin. How are you?
How's your lockdown going? Ours is going great.
Well, it's never ending. I can't bring myself to think about it anymore. It's like, when I'm doing the show with you, I mean, it does kind of ruin my night if you.
I'm always available to ruin your night, Carol.
Well, the thing is, it's like I felt like, I should watch Matt Hancock's address. I should watch what he said today, and I literally put it on, and I thought, I can't even look at his face, Kev. I can't even look at his face, yet alone hear his voice, because he looks like he's way too much enjoying himself doing all of this. It's like, I bet he goes home and watches his own videos back in a dark room because he's so excited by what he's doing. I just think I don't know, there's something not quite right about him, and I can't listen to him anymore. He's just a horrible little upstart who's really enjoying ruining people's lives, and he knows what he's doing. They all know what they're doing.
It does. It seems like that, doesn't it? I think there are two things that people have forgotten to question. One is the central narrative about this coronavirus crisis, and that is that people seem to have been conned into believing it's the bubonic plague, and millions are dying every day. This is the worst health crisis that ever hit the world. It is nowhere near that. The numbers here, of course, it's bad. Of course, it's tragic that people are dying. Of course, it's sad that people are getting this condition. But remember, 99.95% of people who get coronavirus recover. And the numbers are still fairly, actually vanishingly small in a population of 67 million. And the other thing we're forgetting to question is the right of these little men that you're talking about, these two-bit politicians, to tell us what we can and cannot do at Christmas and with whom we can spend Christmas. It's about time they remembered that this is a free country, and we, the grown-ups of Great Britain, have a right to make our own decisions. They've got to stop making them for us.
But they've done it in such a way that they have convinced people that they're doing it for their own good. People are going along with it because they think that it will end, like it will stop. They will stop doing this, but they are changing the law. They are making these things up as they go along. They're changing the laws. They're fining people. They're telling people what to do all the time, and so people then, I think, they get so browbeaten that after a while you give people a tiny little bit of hope and a little scrap of something, and they'll think that that's great. That it's like him saying, "Oh, you can have 5 days over Christmas, but we might have to lock down for all of January."
Yeah.
People, it's just like dangling a mouldy carrot in front of a starving donkey. Of course, it's going to eat it.
Yeah.
It's really playing with people's minds. It's really playing with people's lives. And like we keep saying, and I'm tired of saying it, it's got to stop, but it's not going to stop. All the time, people are seriously believing that it will end, and B, it's like the more freedom people give up, the more they'll get back. They won't. I'm convinced that they won't. I don't know where this is going, but all I know is that it's a runaway train, and it's not going to stop, and they're all on it.
It's going to a dark place, Carol, I think. But Matt Hancock tonight on Hancock's Half Hour from Downing Street tonight, particularly good episode, I thought. Had me laughing from start to finish, as always.
Oh God,
as always. But there he was again, little Matt, droning on. Little Matt, the man who deludes himself he has a political future. Your career is ending just around the corner, Matt. Trust me. He's going to get ditched, definitely. But there he was, droning on once again about the science. We're following the science. How long will it take before these people, Boris and his gormless gang, realise there's no such thing as the science? There's a massive body of scientific opinion that says lockdowns don't work and they do more harm than good. And yet our government is still enthralled to these ridiculous people from Sage who tell them you have to keep locking down, even though we know that lockdowns don't work because the last one didn't work.
And there are many, many, many credible scientists out there who are disputing what the government are doing
Exactly.
and are presenting very, very, very clear evidence of that. And the government are not interested. They're not interested in facts. They're only interested in their own facts. They are absolutely lying. And until people really begin to wake up, because I actually think that it's gone so far now that it will take millions of people out on the streets protesting about this. Now, I'm not trying to incite a riot or anything like that, or civil disobedience, I'm not. But I do think that mobilising a hell of a lot of people to say we've had enough of this, we're not putting up with it. The facts are out there, the numbers are out there. Anybody can go and look them up. Go and see how many people are actually dying of this, and not forgetting that cases. Just because someone might have a positive PCR test, it doesn't make them a coronavirus COVID-19.
Isn't that weird, the way anyone who dies, completely irrelevant to the coronavirus crisis, they have to get COVID into the headline. So the Yorkshire Ripper died after refusing treatment for COVID. Bobby Ball died within 28 days of testing positive for COVID. Neither of which remotely means they died of COVID. We are being brainwashed in a strange propaganda campaign, I think.
Yeah, and even with the vaccine as well, the way that he's now saying that everybody over 50 will have the vaccine by next Thursday or something. I mean, so just something ridiculous. And like I said to you last week, nobody seems to be questioning whether or not we actually need a vaccine for something that is largely, I mean, there is credible sort of opinion and science out there that says that the pandemic is basically over, but they're keeping it going with their lies, with their brainwashing and their propaganda campaigns that are still going on. And I just watched a bit of the news, and I mean, I actually thought it was a spoof out of one of those like virus.
It's like a comedy show now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just, I just hear these people, and my jaw drops at the nonsense they're coming out with. And as I say, they are acting as if we are all dying from the bubonic plague. If you question that central narrative, the rest of it all becomes not only absurd but extremely worrying. It's clear to me that what this government is doing, Matt and Boris and the scared bunch of them, is trying to continue with very drastic policies in order to justify their failed drastic policies of before. I heard this Scottish SNP woman, I think it was the SNP health minister, I'm not entirely sure, but I heard them out the corner of my ear on the radio, and she said, the current lockdown doesn't seem to be working for whatever reason. And it's like, well, could it be the same? Could it be the same reason that the first lockdown didn't work? But that maybe that, I don't know. Call me controversial.
Exactly. And the other thing that...
Sorry about the Scottish accent there, by the way.
The other thing that really winds me up as well is that people keep saying, oh, it's the government's fault. They didn't act soon enough. They didn't do this. They're being incompetent. And yes, it is their fault. Everything that's happened is their fault. But they're keeping it going. And it's almost like they're being deliberately destructive to the point where it can't go back. I am convinced that they don't want us anywhere near the old normal. They want to continue this. And it's like to just blame, the politicians. Oh, they're all so useless. Let's get another lot in. Hang on a minute. They all agree. And this isn't just in the UK. This is in every single country. They're all the same. There isn't really a government that's really standing up to this kind of behaviour, this kind of routine that every country seems to be going through, locking people down, ruining businesses, stopping people from going out and socialising. I mean, it's not only inhuman, it's totally insane. And it's a world that most of us don't want to live in. We live in free countries, but they are not free anymore. And I can't see them being unfree anytime soon.
No, exactly. It's a question of them returning to us the right to behave like free adults. They're treating us like naughty infants, and it's got to stop. It really does have to stop. But what I'm worried about, I mean, isn't it amazing, Carol, how they said, "Oh, you're going to no, sorry, November's off. We'll have to go into lockdown."
Yeah.
So we all reluctantly go, but we promise you we'll come out of lockdown on December the 2nd. And then before you know where you are, they're going, well, we might let you have Christmas, but you'll have to have 25 days lockdown apart from that. So what happened to December the 2nd? That seems to have just disappeared, that barrier, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're going to put in a load of harsh tiers and put almost, the whole country back into a tier system, because it's not actually called a lockdown, but it's the same thing. But they say things like, well, we can't relax it because people will go out again and there'll be another wave. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. The way they're getting people to blame other people. Yeah. It's so divisive, and it's so it's like, there's a brilliant meme going around of or just a cartoon, or I don't know what it is. It was in a paper or something, of a load of birds trapped in a cage. Have you seen it?
No,
there's one bird flying out the window, right? And it goes, look at that idiot. Look at him. He's gonna mean we're gonna be locked up forever, and we'll never be safe. Well, but they're already in a cage.
But that's it. That's it, though, Carol. This is what this government does. Now, we're pretty certain now that the Welsh lockdown, the Faerbrig, did not work. Merthyr Tydfil's got the worst infection rate in the country after a very draconian 2-week lockdown, so that didn't work. Scotland, we know, their lockdown didn't work. Their recent very strict regulations, they didn't work. We know that our first national lockdown didn't work 3.5 months, and now we've got this situation, so we know that didn't work. So why they keep imposing lockdowns on us, God only knows. But they don't work because they don't work. But the government, as you quite rightly indicated just now, in order to get out of their useless policies that don't work, they go, it's your fault, you broke the rules. The first lockdown, hardly anyone broke the rules. It was obeyed on an almost universal basis, so it didn't work. So it's nothing to do with rule breakers. Lockdowns don't work because they don't work.
Yeah, but it's what has worked is the way that they have made other people blame other people. Like anybody who wants to live a life and go about their business and who is aware of the realistic danger of this virus and catching it, that's what they will want to do. But according to people who want to stay in for the rest of their lives, we're the COVID-idiots, or whatever they want to call them.
COVID-idiots are the people who are swallowing the government's useless propaganda, saying that if you don't obey the rules, you're a granny killer. They're the COVID-idiots. The COVID-idiots are the people who accept everything Boris and Matt are saying without examining them, because everything this government is saying demands extreme skepticism. You need to look into it, because they're not shooting straight. They're not bowling a straight ball at us, and they're the COVID-idiots, the ones who accept the propaganda from the government. And I know that you don't, Carol, to say the least. Got to draw it to a halt now, but thanks as always. Same again next week, Carol. I'm sure we'll be in the same